If you want the full breakdown of the Chicago multi-agency raids, targets, tactics, and the documents that allegedly tied embassy-linked fronts to CJNG supply lines, you're in the right place. We'll cover the 5 initial entries, the sub-level cache discovery at Brighton Park, and the shift to Operation Emerald Gate. Servers seized, data preserved, binders cataloged. The payoff: understanding precisely which pieces of evidence escalated this from narcotics enforcement to a suspected foreign-backed conduit operating on U.S. soil. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. 5 doors, 1 clock. What does a 0457 synchronized breach look like when every second decides who runs and who talks? The target map is tight. A small stucco home in Cicero where couriers sleep between runs. A Bridgeview warehouse straddling a rail spur with side access for box trucks. A Joliet trucking lot that leases overnight slots to independent haulers. A Brighton Park lab fronted by a light industrial unit with a roll-up door and night manager desk. And a feeder safe house a few blocks off Archer that cycles visitors after midnight. Each location gets its own entry cell, but they share a single pace line keyed to hit before shift changes, before morning dock checks, and before the first courier text pings. The clock is set to stop anyone from tapping drains, shredders, or the delete key. Intel pulls in 2 directions. Cicero shows fluctuating head counts, sometimes 3 beds used, sometimes 8. Bridgeview logs suggest a weekend skeleton crew, yet thermal hits show more bodies than manifests would justify. That forces a trade-off. Punch in loud with armored shields and mechanical breachers, or hold for a soft knock and risk pipes gurgling and shredder bins warming up. Command leans to speed. They task 1 ram for each door, a shotgun for hinges, and a hydraulic spreader parked for stubborn frames. The aim is to get inside, control mouths and hands, and secure drains before evidence runs. The stacks form fast. Breacher front, shield 1 step off his left, point behind the shield with less lethal ready and a light angled low. Takedown officers follow to peel occupants, then a long gun cover at the hall pinched to stop any backflow. Hallway containment teams set wedges, post mirrors on corners, and call door status by number, not room names, to cut confusion. Overhead, small quad drones loiter near loading bays to watch for runners and get plate captures. Radio traffic stays short. Colors assign sites, numbers assign doors, and brevity keeps chatter from bleeding between teams. If a door hangs or a room goes cold, they bounce to a preset code and the next crew fills the gap. Processing 106 suspects takes planning, not luck. Field triage splits detainees by risk. Red bands for armed or assaultive, yellow for unknown history, green for cooperative. Colored zip ties match those bands, so transport can sort at a glance. Mobile biometrics scan thumbs and faces to pin down aliases, link to wants and warrants, and flag prior removals. A chain moves them through. Detain, search, photograph, print, and seat in pre-built transport loops that circle to a holding site with interview bays and evidence lockers already numbered to match the arrest packets. Behind that rhythm sits deconfliction. HSI, DEA, and FBI clear each other's targets through a joint node so nobody stacks a team on the wrong door or compromises a parallel case. A joint criminal operations center watches the feeds, tracks who is detained, who is cleared, and when a site flips from hot to secured. They pace interviews so evidence teams can collect before a room gets churned by questions, and they lock the chain of custody with timestamps, handler names, and seal numbers that travel with every bag and drive. At Joliet, the lot gate hesitates. A box truck inches, then rolls. A spike strip arcs out, front tires kiss metal, and the driver grinds to a stop. He steps down, hands up, keys on the hood. A quick pop on the rear seal shows pallets wrapped tight, powder scent masked, labels claiming auto parts but weight and rattle wrong. A slit in the shrink wrap reveals lined drums with hazard codes that fit chemical precursors. Bridgeview throws another flag. Fresh caulk snakes along slab cuts and new anchors hold pallet racking that doesn't match the wear on the floor. Manifests read one set of serials. The pallets carry another. Auditors tag the mismatch and set aside skids for a deeper look. Overcoms calls swing to Brighton Park. A back stair pushes cool air where it shouldn't. A handheld sensor shows a temperature dip below the slab that suggests empty space, not compacted fill. Teams hold the door, post security, and cue the tools as seizure crews fan out. The hit holds. No officer down, 106 detained, and one site that reads like a lab with a secret under the concrete, waiting. Why would a fentanyl lab need a floor that breathes? Unless the real goods were below the concrete. The Brighton Park unit tells its own story the second the lights come up. Heat-sealed bricks sit in nested tubs, each marked with batch numbers and carrier dates. Pill-pressed dust clings to a workbench under a plastic canopy, and the filters look fresh even after a night of production. The sanitization zone stands out. Eye wash station, spill kit, and an oversized scrub sink, all more than you'd expect for vitamins or supplements. Glassware, vented hoods, and solvent cans line a short aisle. The setup reads, active processing, not a passive stash. Ground-penetrating radar rolls first. The sweep paints a void beneath the sink footprint, edges tracing a rectangle that doesn't match building plans. A micro camera snakes through a gapped seam along the baseboard and shows a shadowed space beyond a bolted steel panel. Bolts come off under a second authorization, and an access hatch shifts, revealing a narrow stair that drops into still, conditioned air. The sub-level smells neutral, the kind of controlled humidity you use to protect paper and powder. At the bottom sits a compact cache. Precursor drums, labeled under obscure chemical names, rest on anti-static mats. Currency wraps stack in milk crates, each bundle counted and recounted. The paper band dates tight to recent weeks. A binder's box sits on a wire shelf with a foreign insignia stamped on the lid. The barcodes on several containers don't ping domestic supplier lists, suggesting an import channel that bypassed standard catalogs. Nothing is flashy, but everything is arranged for quick inventory and quick exit. On a steel table, briquetting partials crumble under latex gloves, the compressed blocks releasing flakes of carbonized paper. A restoration team starts work in an adjacent room, rehydrating page fragments to coax out ink and graphite. Like a photo coming up in a tray, faint lines turn into columns. Transaction entries, routing notes, and codes that repeat across dates. One log line jumps, recurring transfers tied to a senior diplomatic surname. Next to it, a memo references a Chicago corridor stability plan and ensure uninterrupted flow. The phrasing looks administrative, not cartel slang, which makes the line stand out even more. That is where caution goes up. Documents that suggest diplomatic touchpoints demand independent validation and strict legal review. Every page gets a high-resolution forensic image. Every fragment rides in sealed sleeves with handlers logged by name, time, and location. The sub-level gets photographed, mapped, and scanned again before anything moves. Chain of custody travels with the evidence from the hatch to the locker, so defense challenges hit a wall of timestamps rather than guesswork. By afternoon, the paper trail is not alone. Technicians trace the same nomenclature to a shadow office rented under a layered LLC. Servers hum in a closet rack behind a false wall, with NAS units and labeled drives staged for a quick pull. Data seizure jumps the line. Network cables get clipped, batteries pulled, Faraday bags sealed. The aim is clear. Stop any remote wipes and freeze the network map while the warrants run. Tactics open doors. The sub-level and ledger fragments, if they hold up, map a protected pipeline, not a one-night season bag. That's the difference between raiding a lab and disabling a network. Don't take anyone's word. Pull PACER dockets, read DOJ releases, and cross-check independent investigations. Wait for what survives motions and cross-exam before drawing lines from concrete floors to diplomatic titles. The sources exist. Use them. If you want the continuation, how Operation Emerald Gate allegedly traced servers, shell companies, and personnel. Tell us what to verify next and which documents you want decoded. Name the filings, list the exhibits, and we'll dig.